Okay, so there's an alcoholic in recovery in a hot air balloon. It's a strong start to this joke. There's an alcoholic in recovery in a hot air balloon and he is lost. He's lost his way. So he looks over the side of the basket and he sees another recovering alcoholic on the ground below. And he shouts down to the guy, "Hey, can you tell me where I am?" And the guy on the ground looks up and he says, Yeah, actually I can. You're about 50 feet in the air in a hot air balloon and you are 42 degrees north and 38 degrees west. And the guy in the balloon says, "Wow, you must be a sponsor." And the guy on the ground says, "Yeah, actually I am. How did you know that?" And the guy in the balloon says, "Well, everything you just said is technically correct, but you haven't actually helped me. I'm still lost and I feel like you might actually have set me back. In fact, I'm more confused by what you said than I was when we started." And the guy on the ground thinks for a minute and he goes, "Wow, you must be a sponsee then." And the guy in the balloon says, "Yeah, how did you know?" And the guy on the ground says, "Well, you have no idea where you are, you don't know where you're heading or how to get there, but you're expecting other people to solve all of your problems, and then you're angry at them if they can't." That was a very AA joke. Brothers, sisters, comrades and dogs, welcome to Bat Country. Okay. Now, I am aware from first-hand experience that there is plenty of sobriety content out there about what the first year of sobriety is like. I've never covered it, and I don't feel like I need to because there is just reams of that stuff for you to go and find should you feel it necessary. There isn't a huge amount of stuff out there, though, about the second year of sobriety. And I think that's unusual, given how incredibly different my first year of sobriety has been compared with my second. They've been completely different in my experience. Equal in some respects, equally difficult, equally challenging, and equally rewarding, but very, very different. The first year of sobriety for me was just about day-to-day, moment-to-moment survival. How to remain sober in any given moment of the day. Literally, not just one day at a time, quite often 1 minute at a time. And in that first year, I developed a lot of quite effective sobriety strategies, small and big, in order to help me navigate that kind of difficult first 6 to 12 months of sobriety. And then in the second year, I started to discover that a lot of those sobriety strategies have been less effective, or they've just disappeared from my life. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about 6 very bad things and 6 very good things about the second year of sobriety. Let's go. Now, a quick disclaimer, as always. My experience of sobriety, especially in the first and second years, is not going to be representative of everybody's experience. If you're listening to this or watching this, and your experience of the first 2 years of sobriety are different from mine, please share your experiences in the comments. But we'll start with the bad news about the second year of sobriety. Number 1, I have not been as happy as I expected to be. My life has not been as joyful in the second year of sobriety as I expected it would be in the first year of sobriety. Now, that first year is all about struggle, and it's about developing strategies and finding ways to cope in the absence of alcohol. It's about throwing things at the wall and taking in lots of different sources and opinions and advice, and kind of muddling it all together until you have a relatively complete picture of what your sobriety will look like. It's really exhausting and it's really hard work. And the whole time I was doing that in the first year, I kind of had this utopian picture of the second year. and of my happiness in the second year. I just kind of assumed that it was going to be hard up until day 365, and then on day 366 the sobriety clouds would part and I'd be basking in sunlight, in the warm radiant glow of the sober sun, and I would be presented a scepter and a tiara and one of those big novelty checks for $1 million and a certificate that said, "You're sober now. Well done, you made it. You will never be sad again." But it hasn't been like that. Not for me. I have experienced anhedonia, as I recorded in a previous video. And that started after the first year of sobriety, the anhedonia. And it kind of rubbed the joy that I was hoping for away. It's not that I've been unhappy, it's just that I wasn't exploding with technicolor happiness like I had hoped. I haven't, at least not yet, found like inner peace, and I'm not as calm as a Hindu cow in sobriety. In fact, I found myself being quite frustrated a lot of the time, especially that I haven't made, after this amount of time of sobriety, I haven't yet made the kind of progress in a lot of aspects of my life that I was hoping I would have. 2, more bad news. Next is energy levels. After the slog of the first year, and especially the first 6 months or so, which are incredibly draining and disorienting as your body kind of recalibrates itself in sobriety without the alcohol, I expected to be overwhelmed with energy in the second year. Like it would all come back and I would feel like I was 19 again, which is kind of naive to believe in the first place. And the truth is, I think I probably do have more energy than I did in the first year. And I know, like, even going back through my own Instagram account, if you follow me there, you'll see me doing kind of weird workouts and being active and all of that stuff. So the energy levels are clearly higher, obviously, and provably, but they don't feel it. And I know that feelings are not facts, but it is a fact that I'm tired all the time. Like, all the time. And I do I do everything right. My diet is pretty good. I get a lot of exercise. My sleep patterns are extremely good. I'm asleep before 10 p.m. every night, and then I'm up at 5 a.m. You know, like when you read and you listen to CEO podcasts and stuff, and they're all part of the 5 a.m. club. Yeah, well, I do that. It's just natural to me, and it's not helping. What then? Why am I not bristling with dynamic energy like you expect of a long-term sober person? Why am I not getting more done? Is it maybe age? And if it is, does that mean I will never feel energetic again? That's kind of a bummer to think about. And while my professional output has been quite good, especially in the second year, I also feel directionless sometimes, and that's related to my energy levels. Is that I have grand ambitions, but not really the energy to execute them. And I feel like I should have done more by now. And in early sobriety, in the first year, I had bundles of weird, manic, productive energy every now and then. In fact, I remember being in a detox ward, like a psych ward, in Germany, after a relapse, and I was like 3 days off drinking, 3 days out of a massive binge. And there I was in that little psych ward, trying to write a business plan on pen and paper. And none of that came to fruition. First of all, because that plan would have definitely been crap, but also because I'm just having trouble feeling motivated to execute all of these big ideas. It was crazy, man. In that first year, especially the early part of the first year of sobriety, I had manic energy. Just every now and then, bursts of periodic productivity, and quite kind of good productivity as well. I was like full of determination and drive and conviction and certainty. And all of that has kind of edged off, kind of dulled down slightly into something more like stability. which is the better option, but every now and then I miss the kind of manic, positive attitude that comes with the first year of sobriety. 3. The next thing is my social group, which has shrunk dramatically since I got sober. It is today embarrassingly small. I am embarrassed to say that I'm 40 years old and I really don't have any friends around me. I don't have an in-person friend group, especially not where I live, which is notoriously difficult for making friends anyway. And even at the worst of my alcoholism, at my most selfish and destructive and chaotic, I was still able to pick up the phone or send a message and spend time with somebody. Just any random in my phone book. And I never really did that because I was an isolating suicidal alcoholic. I didn't really want the company, but I could have done it had I been of such a mindset. I could have just called someone and had a friend for the evening. But by the second year, I'd already cut out most of those people, because those people that I would casually call to hang out with, those are the people who were actively dangerous for my own sobriety, not good company. So I wouldn't hang around with them anyway. And all of my real friends, we've just drifted apart over the years, or alcohol has driven a wedge between us. Let me rephrase. I drove a wedge between us through alcohol. It's an important distinction. And that first year for me was spent mostly hunkering down, like being defensive with the shields up, being super hyper vigilant about alcohol, which meant I wasn't dating very much, or wasn't going out to big networking events. All of these things were relapse country, potentially. So I would avoid anything that might trigger me to drink. And my social clique got smaller and smaller until there was very few people left, apart from online. But in person, only a handful. And now that I am in a position to make friends and to do things again, and to rejoin society in my second year of sobriety, I've moved myself to a very comfortable life, but one where it's difficult to make friends, where I don't have access to close friends around me, and moved my job online, so my work is mostly remote. And I'm okay with most of that. As I've said previously, I am a relatively solitary person anyway. And I have my girlfriend, and I have my parents, and I have my dog to keep me company, to keep me sane. But some kind of a social life would be good. Maybe that will come in the third year. The fourth bad thing about the second year of sobriety is that your problems begin to return. Like real, actual problems. After I got sober, in the first year, the first few months, I felt kind of bulletproof, like I'd survived something. And that sobriety had endowed me with a kind of superpower. I was impervious to harm. But the truth is, that's not the case. I was still vulnerable to real-world problems. And I'm still vulnerable to responding to them in the way that I did when I was drinking, which is essentially to ignore major problems and to tuck them away into a drawer somewhere where they won't be disturbed and they won't bother me, and just hope that everybody forgets about them. I had a thing when I was drinking that I was terrified of, like going to get my mail, or I would have a jolt of anxiety anytime there was a notification on my phone or I got an email. It's a very unhealthy way to live, but I felt some of that creep back in recently. That's partially why I've got quite slack at responding to the YouTube comments on this channel. It feels like responsibility a little bit. And that's a telltale sign that something else is wrong. And then 5, kind of related to that, the 5th bad thing about the second year of sobriety is that it comes with a slow burning but quite monumental emotional reckoning. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So I thought that I had dealt with this in the first year of sobriety. In fact, I felt that this was what the entire first year of sobriety was about, was dealing with that reckoning of having to face the consequences of your alcoholism, of my alcoholism. And it turns out the work wasn't over. In the second year, because you've been sober a while, I'll talk in first person. It turns out in the second year, because I've been sober a while and relatively, I think, good at it, I've also kind of equipped myself with a lot of like emotional maturity, grown up a bit, in sobriety. I've grown up. It comes with the territory a little bit. It forces you to do it because there is a huge amount of introspection involved in long-term sobriety. And as a result of that, I understand emotions better than I did. And now they're all coming for me all at once. A reckoning about having to look the problems in the eye that I had for years been using alcohol to numb. Now I have to face them. I have to confront them, and I have to learn to live with them as uncomfortable as it makes me. And that emotional reckoning kind of leaks out in unusual ways. So I've started dreaming about alcohol again. I still dream about, not alcohol, I dream about, they're anxiety dreams really, in which I am getting caught hiding drinks, or trying to conceal empty bottles, or I'm in a situation where I can tell that everybody is suspicious that I have been drinking. They can tell. For the first 8 months of my sobriety, I had those every night. It was all I dreamt about for about 8 months. And then they subsided. And now they've started to come back again. And I think that is part of the process. That is part of the emotional reckoning of the second year of sobriety. The emotional reckoning is like having to face some of those terrible memories that you have of things that you did or you said when you were drinking. And the one that's on my mind right now, I hadn't thought about this for the entire first year of my sobriety. And then all of a sudden, it keeps inserting itself into my consciousness and I can't stop thinking about it. And it is a live interview I gave on the BBC when I was hammered. And I'm not going to give you any more information than that, because I know that one of you will go out and find it and trick me into trying to listen to it or whatever, and I just don't want it in my life. No thank you, hard pass on that particular memory. But it just keeps coming up, that memory. It's like a rash that won't go away. And those are the weird little things that you have to confront. Those things that really hurt you. That's the second year. And then sixth and finally of the negative stuff about the second year of sobriety, that is patience. That is to say, I no longer have any. I have become incredibly impatient to a genuine fault. I no longer have any patience whatsoever for bullshit, for bullshittery, for time wasting. And that impatience can seep out of me, and it can cause friction between me and my girlfriend or my colleagues or whatever. And I look back on the way I was when I was a drinker, and I used to be so spacious, capacious, so relaxed with my attitude towards timekeeping and my tolerance for other people to have their own lives. I used to be completely relaxed about that kind of thing, but not anymore. Now, if you turn up 10 minutes late to an appointment that we've agreed, I will no longer be there. I will have left at about 6 minutes. I'm like Al Pacino in The Irishman. I will get up and leave. If I feel like something isn't a good, valuable use of my time, I will leave. And if I sense that you are wasting my time, I will tell you to your face. And it's not always a good look. There's being assertive and then there's being rude. And my impatience that I've developed in the second year of sobriety is definitely rude. I have become a serious person. Very much against my younger character. I have become serious. I'm quick to lose my temper over wasted time. And I just want to get to the point all the time. I've got no time for fluff and faff. And I've made changes in my life to accommodate myself. So I barely really use social media at all. Apart from YouTube and a little bit of Instagram, I barely use it at all anymore because it is such a monumental time sink. And it's just, I don't have the patience for it anymore like I used to. In fact, that's why this channel isn't as big as perhaps it could be, is because in order to promote this channel, it might mean that I have to open TikTok for a fraction of a second and be suddenly exposed to a teenager with an opinion. I don't care. Okay, that was a bit of a rant. And that's all of the bad news about the second year of sobriety compared to the first. But where I bring bad news, I also like to offer balance. So there are plenty more obviously good things about the second year of sobriety than the first year of sobriety. And I've picked 6. The first 2 are really important, and then there's a million others that could have made the list, but just for the sake of being concise, right now it's 6. The first one is time. And this, I think, is directly related to the thing I just said about impatience. And it's taken me a long time to figure out where that new sense of impatience has come from. And it's from this. I thought it was perhaps a hormonal thing, or maybe I was just turning into a grumpy old man. Maybe it was normal. But it's not that. It's that in the second year of sobriety, I have learned so much respect for time. That's why I'm impatient. That's why I'm impatient if I think something or someone is wasting my time. I think a lot of us in this kind of community will agree with what I'm about to say. I wasted so much time in alcohol. I gave months and years to alcohol that I could have otherwise used productively. And I regret it. Of all of the things that I regret, it's a bold statement because I regret a lot, but wasting so much time on something so meaningless, it puts a hole in my heart. For years, decades, alcohol was just holding me back and my time was slipping through my fingers. And I was letting it do it, I just threw it away. And recovery from alcohol has made time so precious to me. It's made me value time so much more. And that's why I take it so personally. That's why I'm so impatient if I think that someone or something is not using my time efficiently or effectively. Even the first year of sobriety, where it did feel I had more time than I did when I was drinking, but looking back on it, that first year went so fast. It just whizzed past. And because it went so fast, I still have this kind of hangover feeling that I must have been wasting a lot of that time. But it's made me, in the second year, I have become ferociously defensive over my time. Unapologetically. I'll hang up on my mum. No, that's not true. I wouldn't do that. But you get the point. I don't need to hammer it home. It's just, time is valuable for sober people. 2, next, the next big one, the next big positive about sobriety is money. I won't bore you with the maths and stuff behind this, but being sober has directly led to me having more money in my pocket. My little sobriety app that I use tells me that I've saved $7,100 since I quit drinking. And that's not a small amount. And then I've earned roughly the same just from this YouTube channel. And then the same again from the book that I published about my descent into alcoholism. So from that alone is $21,000 that is back in my life that otherwise wouldn't be there if it wasn't for sobriety. It's like being paid 21 grand to not drink. And that's like somebody's full-time salary. And also, because I'm sober, I'm earning a full-time salary to start with. All of that is like secondary to it. All of those kind of incremental savings and the kind of like passive income or whatever you call it, all of that is secondary to a day job. And that's all because I've been able to organise myself better in the second year of sobriety. My finances are just in a better position. I should stress, I don't know where that 21 grand is, because I sure as fuck don't have it. But I also am sure that it is not in the liquor store. So maybe that also will turn up in the third year. The point is, the whole point is that in the second year, I'm not having to hustle so hard, and I'm not stressing so much about money. A third good thing is that I am just better in every way that I can think of in the second year versus the first. And I know that I said a moment ago that I was not as happy in the second year as I was perhaps expecting to be, and that I had been experiencing anhedonia. And those things are both true. But on balance, even with that in my life, I'm doing good. I'm doing realistic. Okay, so not exceptional. I'm not filled with the infinity of the universe and being touched by angels and joyous and choirs and that kind of thing. But I'm doing pretty good. And that's better than I was. Good is okay. I don't need exceptional. That can come later. Right now, I'm pretty content just being pretty content. There were moments in the first year of sobriety of kind of ecstatic happiness. Every now and then. And in time, that kind of sense of manic exuberance has settled down. And what's left is a kind of predictable mood. Stability, for lack of a better word. A predictable mood punctured by feelings of satisfaction. Nothing as profound as happiness or as poetic as joy. Just satisfaction. And that's good enough for me, the sense of satisfaction, because as well as the kind of moments of ecstatic happiness that I experienced in the first year of sobriety, there were also very long, bleak periods of depression and guilt and self-recrimination and fatalism. And I think those have largely gone too. So in the first year, my lows were lower than my highs were high. And now it's stabilized, so I no longer get those really high peaks, but I think it's a fair trade. The predictable mood, the stability that is offered outweighs the occasional soaring peak of happiness I had in the first year. I'll take this. I prefer this. 4. Clarity. So the brain fog, which kind of characterized my entire first year, has cleared pretty completely. I still get it a little bit. Especially when I'm very tired, my thinking can be slow and confused. But on the whole, I'm sharper and more alert and more analytical than maybe ever before. Now, my thinking might be clearer. It's hard to say, but I think it might be clearer than it's ever been in my life in the second year of sobriety. And if I could point to anything that has helped above and beyond the normal biological processes of sobriety, I think it's probably creatine. I started taking creatine several months ago just as an exercise supplement. But creatine has real measured cognitive benefits. And if I can point to one thing which I think might have been useful that I would like to share with my audience, I think it's creatine. It's totally normal and healthy to take. It doesn't have any side effects or anything. You don't feel it. It doesn't have an effect. But the benefits are real. I'm pretty sure. For me, at least. And the 5th thing, self-esteem. That first year is hard, man. You have to pick up all those pieces of yourself and kind of examine them as you put yourself and reassemble yourself, put yourself back together. And that is a frankly horrible, vulnerable, and highly revealing process. And it's horrible because you won't always like the things that you see in those pieces of yourself as you kind of assess the damage. It forces you to confront yourself a little bit. And that's exhausting. And after that process, I found that I was left with a lot of confidence in my own abilities. I found that I trusted my own decision making more than I had done previously. And that will make your self-esteem go up when you trust yourself a little bit. And also, I was impressed by my own resilience in the first year, that I didn't buckle like I had done previously. I proved to myself that I had power and that I was capable and I had agency over this condition, and I was proud of myself for that. And this channel is a good example too. I'm proud of Backcountry. Didn't expect it to be an ongoing thing. I just was going to record some videos about delirium tremens, but it has become a major part of my life. And Backcountry is representative of a decision that I'm also very proud of, which is that I allowed sobriety to be a big part of my identity. I made it part of myself. I wasn't shy about acknowledging this kind of defect, for lack of a better word. I'm glad that I chose to make it something that I'm comfortable talking about rather than trying to hide it as if it's a problem that existed years ago in the past and doesn't affect me today. It does affect me today. And to see people begin to trust me again and to be able to turn up for them and to be reliable, all of this is incredibly good for your self-esteem. And all of it comes, I think, in the second year of sobriety. And then 6, the final, for this list at least, final positive about the second year of sobriety versus the first is my newfound capacity for empathy. The second year has taught me that people are mostly good. I knew that anyway, but it's taught me to assume the best in people. Or if not the best, it's taught me to assume the neutral in people. That very few people are out to actually harm you. And as a result of that understanding, I feel more capable to let people in. I know that sounds a little bit mindful, but I'm more willing to engage with other people and other people's problems and to see other people as complex as I am, and that their problems matter as much as mine do, and that I'm not necessarily the center of everybody's world. Not everything that everyone is doing is about me. And that might not sound like much, but that's a big tell of an alcoholic, that they think everything is about them, and that everything happening in the world around them is a response to their behavior and their decisions and stuff. Once I let that go, which happened naturally in the second year, I was much better able to engage with people. And as much as I bemoaned not having any close, real-life, in-person friends around me, I am still a very friendly person, I think. I might even occasionally allow myself to believe that I might be a decent person. And that's new. That's definitely second year of sobriety thinking, that you might be a good person. I'm not convinced yet, time will tell. But it marks a massive difference from the first year, in which I spent months and months believing that I was scum and that I was irredeemable, and I had done such horrible things and said such horrible things and caused so much trouble and trauma that I might be irrevocable, I might be beyond help. I spent that first year apologizing to anyone and everyone, and feeling like I was a burden to everyone. And now in the second year, I no longer feel like that. I feel like I can be of benefit to people around me. And that feels good. So there we have it. 6 very bad things and 6 very brilliant things about the second year of sobriety. I really hope this has been enlightening for a few people who might be looking forward in their own sobriety journey I hope it's given a kind of honest assessment that it's not all glory. Sobriety is not all sunshine and meadows and running through forests and deep breathing and yoga. That there are some imperfections, but what we're seeking is progress and not perfection, right? Leave your experiences of the second year of sobriety in the comments, especially if they are different from mine, just to get a complete picture of what this thing looks like for anyone who might be looking for more information. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, good luck out there.